Good morning, Mordale. Today, we shall be hearing from a sexual health expert.
I'm here to start an open conversation about sex.
When your mom is a sex therapist, you don't have the traditional childhood. That's the case for Diggory Waite and his mom, Kate Campbell. Their life is similar to this popular Netflix series, Sex Education. After moving back in with his mom during quarantine last year, Diggory came up with the idea to do the podcast after seeing this Netflix show. It's called The Real Sex Education, and it's now in its third season.
Diggory Waite joins us live with his mom, Kate Campbell. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Why aren't you embarrassed about all this?
Why am I not embarrassed about those? I think just because from a young age, we always talked about sex. Sex was an open topic. As you would talk about things like news or politics at the dinner table, we talked about sex. And I didn't think to be embarrassed about that. I didn't think it was weird until one day when my friend came round and we were, sat around eating dinner and sex came up and we all kept talking and he was looking up at us all horrified. You couldn't believe it. And he went to school the next day and told all our mates, being like, guys, you don't realize what goes on at Diggory's house. It's crazy.
So, Kate, tell us, this might be your line of work, but I'm sure you had a discussion with yourself, like, how much do I reveal or talk to my children about at a certain age? How did that work through your mind?
Well, yes, I think we definitely did that, but I think the conversations we had were age appropriate at the time, and I don't see it as talking about it that much. It just was very natural. So just maybe we have a different idea of what's very natural than other families, perhaps. But it was something we talked about as appropriate. If there was something in the news or if the children asked a question, I'd just answer it.
Well, what about Diggory's friend who came over to the house? Did you hear from his mom? Like, what are you talking about at your dinner table?
Not at all. Actually, other parents also asked for advice about how to talk to their children. So I don't think anybody thought it was unusual or it shouldn't have been happening.
So it's one thing to talk about the biology of it, which is what some of us learned in school, not me. But how and when do you talk about beyond that?
So you should be talking about relationships and caring and consent right from the get-go, from birth, really. As soon as they can understand and talk, you can talk about consent. You can talk about not doing things to people that they don't enjoy or they don't like. You can talk about sharing. You can talk about loving relationships, and that's really important. And there's no minimum age, I don't think, for that kind of conversation.
So, Diggory, you have this podcast. Is there anything you're embarrassed to talk to your mom about? Or is nothing off limits?
Do you know what? Nothing is off limits. Some of the things we've talked about on the podcast, I think they've come close, and I would give you examples, although I don't want people to choke on their cereal. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. However, but it astounds me even now. My mum is such a professional, and she always makes her clients, but also me, somehow, even her son, feel comfortable in all these conversations. So, no, there's nothing off limits.
Well, let me ask you, are you in a relationship, and does the person you're in the relationship with know that you're telling your mom everything?
well, this is an important distinction. Mum and I never really talk about our personal sex lives. It's always in general. I think that's what people like to think. Yeah. But because I'm sure that people might not be too happy that I was dating. They wouldn't be too happy if I was disclosing all of that with my mum.
Yeah, Kate, what is the biggest misperception people have about sex, whether that's what they think other people are doing or how frequently or what have you?
Well, that's a good point. People do think other people are having a better time than them quite often, and they think they're having more sex or better sex. But the biggest misconception of all is that people don't know what sex is. So a flirt, a little touch, a smile, they're all sexy at times, brushing past somebody, a lovely kiss, a warmth, that's all intimate and sexy. And it's not all about what most people would consider sex.
When is the right age to have that talk with your kids? Is it different for boys than girls?
I don't think so. I think if they ask a question that needs an answer, then they're ready to hear the answer. So and keep it age appropriate. Don't go into too much detail. So whenever they start asking, and if for instance there's a new arrival in the family, if there's going to be a little brother or sister, then the big brother or sister may want to know how they got into mummy's tummy or things like that.
So do you because this always comes up on this show that Robin likes to use cutesy little euphemisms. Is that the better way to go, or do you just use the scientific biology names?
I think it's worth using the biology names, and that's certainly how we started off. But my kids, I've got 4 kids, came home from school saying that their friends had used different names, and so we just said some people call it that, and you can call it what.
Yeah, Larry.
All right.
And our parents should be having to talk with us any day now, because I know they've never gotten around to it. Well, thanks. It's a pleasure to meet you both. For more, you can check out the information on your screen. It's the Real Sex Education Podcast with Mom and Son. And there's their info. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, guys.
Take care.
That was great.
Yeah, they sound so chip chip. I love that.
I thought they were going to be crazy, but they were very nice.
They sounded great, and I love their accents.
Oh, isn't that great?
Nuts.
Hello there, Anna.
Hello.